KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama. How y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So, just to give y'all a heads up, I've been dealing with some health issues, but it's ups and downs sometimes. Just weird stuff happens to me, right? And so, so I had this, and I have this infection in my left ear. I could barely hear out of it, and so I was on these antibiotics. And you know me, right? I got to get the rare side effect, right? So I'm taking this antibiotic for my left ear, and it causes my heart to race, So I had to go to ER and all that kind of stuff. But I'm doing better, and my pressure is getting under control. And thank y'all for who been praying for me and who support this ministry. I really appreciate it because I need all the prayer I can get. We all do, especially living in the days that we're living in. And so, once again, let me show you that. Why do I show that? It's because people are sitting under judgment. That's the title of this show, is Sitting Under Judgment. And that's literally what people doing. And, most people don't get it. It's pretty bad, in my opinion. But, some people see it, some people don't.
What about the earthquake that just happened?
That's God's will. God shook it. If man could have stopped it, man would have stopped it. I hear the building shaking. Man built the building, but God got the earth. Mm-hmm. Man couldn't do nothing with that. But God shook it. Let him know he got the whole world in his hand. The earth is the Lord, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein.
So man builds the building, but God has the earth. Man can make his plans, but the Most High will shall be done. So just as we saw, with the intro, that we have people waiting, ignorantly waiting for the UFO. Now, the UFO in that video clip was a metaphor, right? In my opinion. That don't mean there won't be any UFOs. Who knows? But it's the nature of man sitting there under judgment.
We're almost there. We're almost there. There it is. It's totality. This is just amazing. I can't believe I'm able to bring this to you. I'm taking my glasses off for a moment because you can actually look up and see. We're seeing kind of a diamond effect, but we can see the halo. We can see the corona around the sun. The stars are starting to come out. This is just an amazing sight. I just watch for a moment while I gather myself because I'm just in awe of the sight that I'm seeing right now.
have goosebumps and I'm not even there.
I'm with you.
Wow.
I'm with you too. It's hard not to revel in the moment and the wonder of it.
Sorry, guys.
How you feeling, Larry?
Okay. You probably don't know this about me, Robin Judy, but I'm a crier. So I gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Okay. All right.
This is darker than Nashville. In 2017, the moon was further away. The moon is closer. I just can't believe it. This is unbelievable. It just puts the eclipse of 2017 so small to this.
And there's other reasons it's very special too. You mentioned how this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, so special. You know, it's not going to be like this forever though. If we were around 620 million years from now, actually, we wouldn't be getting any more total eclipses.
What do you mean?
Well, the moon is slowly moving away from the Earth about 1.5 inches every year. That's due to tidal pull from the ocean, and it makes the moon's orbit speed up slightly, so it drifts out. And that means that in about 620 years, the best you'll get is that ring of fire annular eclipse. And so we won't be able to study the corona like we can now. We won't be able to see this special thing. It really is a cosmically...
So the moon will be smaller in comparison to the sun.
We won't have that 400, 400 times smaller on the sun.
So we really are lucky. It is a blessing. It's a blessing and a fluke that we just happen to be able to see this on our planet with our moon and the sun where it is, and in this moment in human history.
That's right. That's right. As far as we know.
Earth's history, I should say. Who knows how long human history is going to last?
Right.
And you see just the moon still just slowly inching across, but it is an eerie feeling. I mean, it really looks like this would be dusk on any other given day, but people all with their heads to the skies, to the heavens, people taking it in just all various ways. Of course, I said this is my first time. People describe this as a supernatural, as a spiritual experience.
Because the moon is so much closer, it looks as big as the sun, but the reality is it's about 400 times smaller than the sun. But what's unique is that the moon is also about 400 times closer to the Earth than the sun. And that very strange, very beautiful, extremely coincidental number ratio that we have there is what allowed us to see what we saw today.
Look at this. This is what NASA astronauts aboard the International Space Station saw, the moon's shadow covering Earth. I mean, I'd never seen an eclipse before, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime type of experience. You could say it was sort of a front row seat to something majestic, even spiritual.
So, something majestic. Something majestic, even spiritual, she says. It was, look, I'm going to tell y'all, for me, I was asleep. I literally fell asleep during the eclipse. Straight up here in Dallas, I wasn't going outside anyway. I told y'all I wasn't going outside. But something majestic. What does it mean? What does it all mean? It means, you know what it means? It means you in trouble. Y'all's in trouble. I know. Ain't nothing to see here. What? All things remain the same since the fathers fell asleep. I know. Jeremiah 10:2. Do not learn the way of the nations or be dismayed at the signs of the heavens, for the nations are dismayed at them. Crying, weeping, foolishness. I mean, come on now. What did y'all think when you saw the reporters crying because of an eclipse? Something magical. Something wondrous. Oh, what a sight to see. While they living in sin, fornicating. People don't know how they were born. People lying, stealing, and cheating. While the signs of judgment is over their heads. Sitting there looking at the eclipse with their little shades on, not knowing that the message is that you're under judgment. They're dismayed at the signs, and they're looking at the signs, and they're wondering, it's just one of these things that we see that is one of the mysteries of the universe. No, it's the Most High saying, judgment coming. Preachers preach it, money coming, but money ain't gonna help. Oh, you didn't know that's what the message was? You didn't know that the message was judgment? Revelation 6:12-14. When he broke the sixth seal, I looked, and there was a great earthquake. Didn't Grandma say man built the building, but God controlled the earth? There was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth. The full moon became like blood. And the stars of the sky fell to the earth. On the fig tree drops its winter fruit. When shaken by a gale, the sky vanished like a scroll rolling itself up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. One thing you got to understand about prophecy. A lot of these signs that we see, not necessarily all happening at the same time. Part of it may be the great earthquake. Another part may be the sun becomes black. Now, give me a 1 if you think the sun becoming black could possibly be an eclipse. Give me a 2 if it has nothing to do with it. The Most High was telling them that judgment is here. Can I put it in a scarier term? Some of y'all about to be deleted. That's a scarier term for you. I know. Some people say your Cobra is always fear-mongering. Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, or suffering of those days, the sun will be darkened. Can we say eclipse? Come on now. Can we say eclipse? Come on, what else? I mean, what else could it be? The sun will be darkened. How do you darken the sun? You got to put it out. You got to put your hand over the light bulb. You got to put the shade over the light bulb. You got to black it out. See, the eclipse is synonymous with judgment. While they're sitting there looking at the awestruckness of the sun going dark, come on. While they under there in the UFO, they're about to blow your tail up. You living in sin when the Most High saying, repent. Luke 23:44-45. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, while the sun's light failed. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. That's when Yeshua was crucified. What does it denote? Come on now, y'all. Come on. What does it denote? Judgment. Yeshua was on the cross. He took the sins for all mankind, and God did what? Judged him for us. It's no light thing. The Most High is not playing. For some is judgment, for some is deliverance. For some it means nothing. Why? Because some of y'all caught in your sin. Some of y'all hating the white man. Some of y'all mad at me because I say white folks can be saved. Some of y'all call me a false teacher because I say Gentiles can have salvation. I wonder who the false teacher is. I told you some of them getting in before you. let's not get it twisted. The Most High said he was going to save mankind. Who do you think he was talking to back in the garden? Adam and Eve or Jacob? Yes, the covenants with Jacob, but the promise was to mankind that he was going to save many of us. Isaiah 60, rise and shine, for your light has come. The glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the people. But Yahuwah will arise upon you, and his glory will appear upon you. Oh. Wait a minute. Hold on. You mean there's a light coming in the darkness? You mean them Israelites told the truth? They're about to leave this place and go back home to the land that they were taken from? Darkness always been synonymous with judgment. The message is here. Judgment has arrived. While they're staring up at the sign of the judgment, dismayed by the wonders in the sky, not knowing the scripture that the eclipse, the sun being darkened, is synonymous with judgment. Some of the scarier things that we deal with in the scriptures and in the Apocrypha, and that people like to ignore. He answered me, this 2 Ezra 9, he answered me and said, measure carefully in your mind. And when you see that some of the predicted signs have occurred, have you seen some of the predicted signs? Give me a yes. Have you seen some of the predicted signs? Yes, if you have. No, if you haven't. Have you seen some of the predicted signs? Verse 2. Then you will know that it is the very time when the Most High is about to visit the world that he has made. What? You mean the Most High coming down here to visit the world? For what? The Most High is coming to visit the world that he has made. Why is the Most High coming to visit the world that he has made? Because the Lord has said that he would dwell in thick darkness. But he's coming to visit the world that he has made. Why? Why is he coming to visit the world that he has made? So when there shall appear in the world earthquakes. Have y'all seen earthquakes? Tumult of peoples, intrigues of nations, wavering of leaders, confusion of princes. Then you will know that it was of these that the Most High spoke from the days that were of old, from the beginning. So this is what the Most High has been speaking from days of old. He's coming to visit somebody. For just as with everything that has occurred in the world, the beginning is evident and the end manifest. So also are the times of the Most High. The beginning are manifest in wonders and mighty works, and the end in penalties and in signs. Come on now. The end in penalties, can we say judgment and signs? It shall be that all who will be saved and will be able to escape on account of their works or on account of the faith by which they have believed will survive the dangers that have been predicted and will see my salvation in my land. What? Shall see the salvation in my land and within my borders, which I have sanctified for myself from the beginning. So the Most High said, look, I'm coming to judge some people. And I'm coming to save some people. Darkness coming over this land and over the people. I'm coming to judge. But light is also coming. Does it not also line up with the scriptures that says we're going back to our land? And the Most High says, see my salvation where? In my land. See my salvation in my land. Within my borders, which I have sanctified for myself from the beginning. Verse 9. Then those who have now abused my ways shall be amazed, and those who have rejected them with contempt shall live in torments. For as many as did not acknowledge me in their lifetime, though they received my benefits, you got the air, the food, the water, you got the enjoyment of life and the wind and the rain and the sun. You enjoyed his benefits, and as many as scorned my law, y'all say there is no more law. Some of y'all. As many as have scorned my law while they still had freedom, you had a choice. It did not understand, but despised it, while an opportunity of repentance was still open to them. These must in torment acknowledge it after death. Therefore, do not continue to be curious about how the ungodly will be punished, but inquire how the righteous will be saved. How the righteous going to be saved? See, that's why I don't play with y'all. That's why when some of y'all mad that we say Gentiles could be saved, I don't play with y'all. I fear the Most High. I told you that. Do not continue to be curious about how the ungodly will be punished, but inquire how the righteous will be saved. Those to whom the age belongs, and for those whose sake the age was made. I answered and said, I said before and I say now and will say it again, there are more who perish than those who will be saved. Oh. See why I fear the Most High? I answered and said, I said before and I say now and will say it again, there are more who perish than those who will be saved. As a wave is greater than a drop of water. More people gonna perish than who gonna be saved. Like a wave from an ocean in comparison to a drop of water. Can we say 8 souls on the ark out of millions of people? He answered me and said, as is the field, so is the seed. As are the flowers, so are the colors. And as is the work, so is the product. As is the farmer, so is the threshing floor. For there was a time in this age when I was preparing for those who now exist, before the world was made for them to live in, and no one opposed me then, for no one existed. But now those who have been created in this world, which is supplied both with an unfailing table and an inexhaustible pasture, have become corrupt in their ways. So I considered my world and saw that it was lost. God said, look, it's lost. It's done. I saw that my earth was in peril because of the devices of those who had come into it. So a bunch of people created some science and some technology and some biotech, and they didn't mess everything up. And I saw and spared some with great difficulty. So the Most High said, look, I saved some of y'all, but it wasn't easy. And saved for myself what? One grape out of a cluster and one plant out of a forest, a grape forest. One grape out of a cluster and one plant out of a grape forest. Not just a forest, but a grape forest. But you ain't scared of the Most High? You think you getting in there? You trying to keep Gentiles out of his kingdom? When he said most perish, What make you think you getting in? So let the multitude perish that has been born in vain, but let my grape and my plant be saved, because with much labor I have perfected them. Don't get mad at me because I'm an obedient child. My king told me to go to every nation preaching the good news, not just to Israel. He said to the Jew first, that's me, to the Jew first, then to the Gentile. But the world is sitting, watching, looking at their warning sign, the last one they're going to get. The world sitting there looking at the sun being covered. The world sitting there watching the final message of their destruction. The world is sitting there waiting to be deleted. Second Ezra chapter 15, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, says Yahuwah, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Y'all think the Most High plan, don't you? Y'all keep saying Gentiles can't be saved, but you don't know if you getting in. Your bloodline ain't getting you in. Faith in Yeshua is getting you in, and obedience. Behold, said Yahuwah, I will bring plagues upon the world, sword, famine, death, and destruction. I know this is not a good message today, fam. I know y'all don't like this. It's sort of scary, ain't it? Sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness had exceedingly polluted what? The whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood cried unto me, and the soul of the just complained continually. They're bombing me here in Gaza. I'm just a little innocent baby. I'm just a little mommy and a daddy. Some people doing wicked. And therefore says Yahuwah, I will surely what? Avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. It's not just Israel he's getting revenge for, but mainly Israel. We could read Joel chapter 3. Verse 10, behold, my people, because that's Israel, is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. So the Most High say, look, Israel, you ain't staying in your captivity no more. It's time to go. I'm about to handle business on this earth. I'm coming down here personally to handle business. I'm about to judge some folks. A lot of them ain't going to make it because the majority going to perish. Very few going to make it out. One grape out of a cluster. One plant out of a great forest. Don't get it twisted. Everybody ain't going to make it. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahuwah shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting of the hail with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. I'm not going to read the rest. You should be familiar with 2 Esdras 15. If you're not, go read it. This is where a dragon is going to be fighting the Caramanians, the dragons of Arabia. Going to be fighting the Caramanians. Some synagogues of some Satans are going to be fighting some Iranians. Some group of people are going to be fighting against another group of people. Revelations 6:7-8. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed after him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth. Didn't the Bible say he gonna kill with the sword? Well, what's this beast of the earth? Revelation 13:1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Could the beast of the earth be these beasts that we see in the book of Revelation and Revelation 13, the same beast we see in Revelation 17:3? So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Can it be the world governmental system? Could it be the beast that men are killed by?
We are back with a Fox News alert. We're waiting to see how Israel responds to Iran's unprecedented attack this weekend. The IDF says this launch of so many missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs into the territory of the state of Israel will be met with a response. We will do whatever is necessary to protect the state of Israel.
Texas Congressman Randy Weber is leading the effort to condemn Iran with a landmark bipartisan resolution that is being unveiled today. And before that, he joins us right now. Congressman, good morning to you. So Israel has made it clear they are going to respond, and we're hearing that this response could be imminent. What is your reaction to that? And what does that mean for us and our security here at home?
Well, Don Garley, thanks for having me. It's about time that people around the world understood that Iran is the leading exporter of terrorism. Israel has been the brunt of it for a long time, as you well know. The upper echelon, if you will, in Iran calls Israel the little Satan and America the great Satan. So we should be paying attention. We should be condemning everything like that Iran does. And actually, we should be banning everything they export with all kinds of sanctions and making sure that they feel the pain of being alienated from the rest of the world community. We've got to do those things.
But the problem is this administration doesn't seem to get that. And that was evidenced by this exchange. John Kirby disregarding the administration's unfreezing of funds for Iranian leaders. Watch.
Now that we know that the Iranians do not listen to President Biden's public warnings, is there any regret here about unfreezing billions of dollars for Iranian leaders during the president's administration?
What unfreezing are you talking about?
He unfroze billions of dollars
for Iranian leaders?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so. None of those funds. Funds set up in an account, by the way, by the previous administration, goes directly to the supreme leader, the IRGC, can only be used for humanitarian purposes, and we're watching that account very, very closely.
Somebody got some plans in the midst. Something is happening over in the Middle East. While people say all things remain the same.
טוב, מי שלא ידע, תראו מה הולך בנתב"ג, ככה כל יום.
I thought that Israel wasn't supposed to be kicked out of the land no more. That's my understanding from the scriptures, that once we return, or once the Israelites return, they will not be kicked out of the land no more, but they leaving. I wonder why. I wonder why they leaving. Could it be because of judgment? And, we got things happening over here in America, and, ain't nothing to see here. Hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy.
So I told y'all a month ago that nobody was getting their taxes and nobody wanted to believe me. But look at the outcome. All of your tax money was sent to Ukraine, and the rest of it that's left is getting ready to be sent to Israel. Your government is working on a bill now to send even more of that money to Ukraine.
As early as 6 a.m. ahead of the 9 a.m. opening.
The line is around 2 corners, 3 corners. This one, 4 corners. It's 4 corners long.
The IRS held the extended hours Saturday ahead of Monday's tax deadline. No appointment needed. People were able to get one-on-one help from an IRS representative. But Atlanta News First learned many of them didn't come by choice.
All I need to do is verify my identity, and that's it. It's a tiny process, but still in all, to wait this long.
Almost everyone we spoke to had already filed their taxes, but received an email or letter in the mail similar to this, stating they needed to come in person to verify their identity before their refund could be released.
Kept calling the phone numbers. It's such a hassle just to get through the phone numbers and get information about what's going on and what you need to do. I finally got the phone number, said I could verify over the phone. Try to verify the phone. No, you have to come in person.
Frustrated and fed up.
The last day to file your taxes is April 15th. It's Monday, right? But guess what? We still gonna have to verify after Monday.
Dozens of people in line had no other choice.
You ain't getting no check. You know why you ain't getting no check? You ain't getting no check because they gave your money to the migrants. They gave your money to the Ukrainians. They gave your money to the Middle East. They ain't got no money to give you. But ain't no judgment. Don't worry about it. Ain't no judgment. Jacob don't know what he's talking about. They've been making stuff up. They've been putting fear in y'all. Don't listen to Jacob. Don't listen to Till Ministry.
Hi, my name is Chi, last name Jai. I work for the internal think tank unit of a large American company. Thank you for presenting a view that perhaps not to the sophisticated audience here at Kennedy School, but I think perhaps in the US in general, that is a little bit different. I follow non-Western, specifically Chinese press as well. And I think the point of view that you presented is quite normal from a non-Western press coverage point of view. But if we look at the average Western press and the public discourse here, and hence policy here, that point of view perhaps is odd. Just like you highlight with the Belgrade embassy bombing, we can actually have US and China looking at things from 2 totally different angles. My question is, how do we bridge that public perception gap to then move toward more harmonious bilateral relations?
I must say that's a very difficult question, because the thing that as I get older, I get less and less surprised by things. Quite normal. But one thing that's really surprised me is that on the one hand, the United States has clearly the freest media in the world, the best financed newspapers, the best financed television stations in the world. But I can tell you this, as someone who travels to at least 30, 40 countries a year, when I come to the United States and I go to my hotel room in Charles Hotel and turn on the television, I feel that I've been cut off from the rest of the world. And literally, the insularity of the American discourse is actually frightening. And this is also true, by the way. I mean, I've said this to my friends there anyway in New York Times. This is true of the New York Times. This is true of the Washington Post. This is true of the Wall Street Journal. There is an incestuous, self-referential discourse among these newspaper journalists and so on and so forth. And they reinforce each other's perspectives and end up misunderstanding the world. Because, you know, the one key point I emphasize is that the era of Western domination of world history was a 200-year aberration. It's coming to an end. And as a result of it, you've got to learn to understand non-Western perspectives in the world. And it's actually quite frightening that in many ways, I find American intellectuals behind intellectuals, including in Serbia, where I just was, or Greece, or in Istanbul, because they are much more aware of what's happening in the world than most American intellectuals.
So even Gentiles see that it's over. It might be low, but you're gonna have to listen to it later and turn it up. That's the loudest it could get. It's over. He said it's over. I remember a ministry. What's their name? Can't remember their name right now. And that ministry had a video called Fall of the Gentile Powers about 6-7 years ago. Before all of this happened, it just sort of seemed very interesting or coincidental or prophetic. I don't know which one. But now everyone is, jumping on board and coming to the same conclusion, and things that were hidden, things that were lied upon is being revealed. Have you noticed that a lot of Israelites are being proven correct? Y'all remember all of the debates we had, a few years ago, and we was talking about the law, and we was talking about how it's still valid and how Christianity has deceived many people. Y'all remember that, right? Well, Gentiles are coming to the same conclusion.
One of the surprising things that await any student of the New Testament when they study the text academically, whether at university or at home reading academic texts, is just how unorthodox and heretical the earliest Christian beliefs were compared to the later beliefs of the church. And I just want to share with you what some of these beliefs actually were, because I found them quite surprising when I first read about them. And I'm going to use as my guide Jimmy Dunn's book, Unity and Diversity in the New Testament, an inquiry into the character of earliest Christianity. And Jimmy Dunn, as I've said before, is a leading New Testament scholar, professor at the University of Durham. And he says in his book, page 255, under the chapter, Just How Orthodox Was Earliest Palestinian Christianity, he says the following: the first Christians were Jews. Luke's account of the range of nationalities present at Pentecost, this is the great falling of the Holy Spirit in Acts chapter 2, where they all receive the Holy Spirit. People from all the nations of the earth apparently are congregated there, but they were all Jews and proselytes. In other words, they weren't Gentiles. These were people committed to Judaism. And even though they believed that Jesus was the Messiah and risen from the dead, that did not alter their standing or outlook as Jews. And Dunn continues, they apparently continued to observe the law without question. This is the Jewish law, the 613 commandments given to Moses, not interpreting their traditions of Jesus's words and actions in a manner hostile to the law. Nothing in what they understood about Jesus' teaching told them to reject the law. Hence, the Pharisees seem to have seen in them little or nothing of the threat which Jesus had posed, Acts 5:33 onwards. And not a few became members of the Jesus sect while still remaining Pharisees, Acts 15:5, 21:20. Hence, too, the shock of the Cornelius episode to the Jerusalem believers. It had not occurred to them that faith in Jesus the Christ might make the purity law irrelevant. So they had no understanding from Jesus that he had abolished the law or made what was unclean clean in regards to food at all.
Is that not what we've been saying for all these years? Everybody's catching up. But understand this, that we're in the midst of judgment, and during the midst of judgment, there's also has to be some light. And the Most High will give you some light so you can come out of darkness. The Bible said that his word is true. The Bible said that the law is truth. The Bible says you will know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. This is why we see the mixture of paganism within Christianity to deceive. But this is the time of judgment, and now everyone has a freedom, as we saw in Baruch. You have a freedom to decide to obey or not. You have a freedom to obey the laws. You have a freedom to follow Yeshua. You have a freedom to decide I'm going to do right. You have a freedom to reject wickedness and unrighteousness. You have a choice. The Bible says choose life. He says choose life. Some of y'all love death, though. Some of y'all love the darkness. Well, you're going to eat the fruit thereof. But the world continues to get weirder and weirder. Stranger, stranger, and stranger. The world is full of deception and confusion and wickedness and demons and ghosts.
Is it just me, or do things just seem off? Like something's just not right. And I'm not saying ever since the eclipse, but you might as well just go ahead and say ever since the eclipse, because I've seen a couple videos like that, and I can only speak for myself, but 3 times this week have I been approached by absolute freaking strangers, and they've almost said the exact same thing. People that didn't know me from Adam just said everything just seems off. It doesn't feel right. I don't know what that means in particular on a physical level, but maybe on a spiritual level, maybe there is something.
The world seems off. Give me a 1 if you think the world seems off. Give me a 2 if it's all hunky-dory for you. Give me a 1 if the world seems off. Weird stuff. I like to say the other word, but I'm not. Weird stuff.
Hey, so today I experienced something that I've never experienced in my life before. Freaked me out. Thought I was crazy. Still haven't processed it fully. So, as I do every week, twice a week, I make deliveries to the same guy. I've been doing it for 7 months. And it's the same guy every time I walk in. He's got a big garage with like a couple trucks in it. I walk in, I hand him his parts, we talk for a minute, I walk away. I go on my business. Today, I walked in, and he had his back to me, and he was working on his bench, and he must have heard me coming. I don't know, because I was actually pretty quiet, I thought, but when he turned around, I jumped and kind of grabbed my mouth like that because I didn't know what to think. And he laughed a little bit, and he called me jumpy. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm just not feeling very good. And I handed him his part, and I was like, hey, I got to go. The reason I reacted that way is because when I looked at him, he was different. He didn't look like the same guy I saw every other time. First thing I saw was he had no color in his eyes. They were completely black. Like you couldn't even see reflections. It was just a black mass. And for some reason, his ears were kind of weird, and they had like this little point like that. I don't know what that was. Excuse me. But then I was talking to my friend, and he sent me an article about them saying that a new disorder that's coming out where people are starting to see demon faces in people. And it got me thinking, if they're putting something like that out, could it be a disorder, or is it God is actually letting people see demons and they're just trying to make it look like we're crazy? I still can't process it. I can't. I don't know. And like ever since the eclipse, I find it funny. The clouds look different for some reason. I don't know what it is yet. I'm gonna figure that one out. But that could be just me being dumb. The other thing I saw, like I have perfect vision, so I don't know what I saw. If anybody else has ever seen this, can you please let me know, because I'm kind of weirded out right now.
So we talked about that in the other show about the PMO disease or whatever they want to call it, right? All of a sudden. But Second Baruch states specters and attacks of the Shadim. That's one of the judgments. But, you know, hey, don't listen to us. Listen to the ones who say all things remain the same since the fathers fell asleep. Don't listen to us. We told you it's the end of the 400 years and all hell will break loose. Don't listen to us. Stay in your ignorance and watch the spaceship come down as it hits you with its laser beam. Don't listen to us.
911, what are you reporting? We got someone or something crawling around out here. Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal, or? I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on, and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man, or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just that it ran across the yard. Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before? Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it. But whatever it was standing up. I'm out here looking through the window now, and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better... Sir? Gio! Hello? Get somebody out here. What's going on now, sir? That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. Do you see him now, sir? Yes, I'm looking right at him. Uh-oh. Okay, hang on. He's right... Is he in your yard, sir? Yeah, God, he's big. Okay, what's he doing in your yard? He's looking at me. Oh, and the guy is on foot. I don't know what... It's a big... real big person. That's all I can say. Okay, but it is a person. Yeah, I'd say it was a person, somebody really big. But he's all in black. Is he a black male or a white male? Did you actually see whether, or was he just wearing black? He's all black and he's big. He is big.
I don't know what it is. People seeing stuff. Let me read Second Baruch again to y'all. And he answered and said unto me, into 12 parts is that time divided, and each one of them is reserved for that which is appointed for it. In the first part there shall be the beginning of commotions. In the second part there shall be slayings of the great ones. And in the third part the fall of many by death. And in the fourth part the sending of the sword. And in the fifth part famine and withholding of rain. And in the sixth part earthquakes and terrors. And in the eighth part, a multitude of specters and attacks of the Shadim, ghosts and demons. And in the ninth part, the fall of fire. And in the 10th part, rapine and much oppression. In the 11th part, wickedness and unchastity. And in the 12th part, confusion from the mingling together of all those things that were said. For these parts of that time are reserved and shall be mingled one with another and minister one to another. For some shall leave out some of their own and receive in its stead from others, and some complete their own, and that the others, so that those may not understand, who are upon the earth in those days, that this is the consummation of the times. But don't worry, nothing to worry about.
Something really strange just happened to me and my wife.
I wanted to get her in on this with me, but she wasn't a big fan of making this with me, so it'd just be me. And this is way off topic of what I normally do. This ain't got nothing to do with motorcycles or projects around the house. And the only reason I'm making this is because we can't find nothing on it. You know, we can't find nothing on Google or anything else, and it's kind of extraordinary. Every night we go out on the front porch and drink a cup of coffee. Tonight, I open up the door, and it's dark, and there's a pecan tree right out in the front yard. Well, when I opened the door, I noticed a circular ball of light up on the branches of the pecan tree. But I just thought it was from where I'd opened the front door, you know, the light from the house being projected on the tree. And so I opened the door, but took note of it because it was very prominent. And my wife was behind me. And as she came out behind me, I shut the door, and this perfect sphere of light is still in the tree. And so naturally, I thought, well, it had to be the door, something to do with the door and the light from the house. My mind needed logic. It needs logic. So I opened the door again. Mind you, my wife hasn't said anything. So I opened the door again and close it to confirm to my brain, and the light remained. And I said under my breath, I said, "Oh, that ain't the door." And when I said that, my wife heard me say that, and she said, "Oh, hell no," and stood up and proceeded to run into the house. So now we're both in the house, but we both understood, you know, we shared that experience. So one's eyes wasn't playing tricks on them. We both shared this experience. Of course, the light quickly disappeared as soon as we both acknowledged it, but we both saw it. And I think at the moment we both understood that we shared that sight, the reality set in, and we started discussing it and researching. And I can find very little about it. I'm only making this video because I'm hoping somebody else has experienced something similar, but it was like a ball of light. It's the only way. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but we saw what we saw. It was a ball of light, and I would say it was like a lightish, bluish, greenish color. I couldn't find nothing substantial. I did find this picture on somebody else's TikTok. I screenshot it, stole it, whatever. I have no clue if that's legit or not, but that's what we saw. This is what we saw. And it's funny to me that we saw what we saw on the branches of our pecan tree in the front yard. And whatever this is hanging out on a tree branch also. Had it been just me out there, wouldn't have thought another thing about it. Eye tricks, mind tricks, whatever. Even though it was bizarre, wouldn't have thought another thing about it. But the fact that me and my wife both saw it, that gets rid of any idea of losing our minds or whatever. And I know several people are going to watch this and think, "Oh, that dude's just lost it. Him and his wife both crazy." But to anybody that has any experience with anything of this kind, I need answers. We need answers, and we'd really appreciate it because.
So we told you the specters and the Shaddim will be released, and the book of Revelation talks about the opening of the abyss and these insect-looking beings coming out. The interesting thing about what he saw is that this all goes back to the ancient myths. Now, I have a few teachings on the ancient world, and they had what they call the willow of the wisp. People used to see the willow of the wisp. Some people used to see fairies. We'd probably call them angels or fallen angels. Some people probably call them demons and devils. But nothing to see here. Don't worry. All of these people just losing their mind all of a sudden. But we talked about what would happen. We talked about at the end of 2019, the nations will be judged. We talked about how the Most High is going to bring us out of here with outstretched hand and fury poured out. We talked about the signs and the wonders, but people don't get it. People seeing demons, devils, spirits, angels, giants, aliens. Don't forget Miami, family. Y'all remember the aliens in Miami. But we the crazy ones, right? We've been warning y'all for a long time, but we the crazy ones. We've been telling the Gentiles to repent, but we the crazy ones. But now they seeing it. Now they're testifying. Now they're saying everything we said that was going to happen, now it's happening. But who crazy? But next is the Exodus. We see what's happening on the continent. We see our people waking up. We see our people opposing and contending with the colonizer, kicking them off. We see our people taking back their resources and their food and items. We see the awakening on the continent.
We are not given the free will to make decisions on our own mineral resources. There's always Big Brother who decides. And when you fight and say, no, we are not going to do this, they use the system to stop you. It's either they set you up with the opposition and they'll be supporting the opposition against you from the back, or they cause unnecessary chaos in your country so that you are not able to even govern your own people. They will do things to make you not to be functionable. And of course, any country that don't have peace cannot develop. You have to have peace before you talk about development. I'll give you a simple example about Sierra Leone. Every mining company that is in Sierra Leone today is owned by a foreigner. Every mining company. If it's not the Chinese, it's the American, it's the British. Our electricity, Bumuna, is run by the British, and we still don't have light. We're looking for light, electricity. If you don't have electricity, how can you talk about education? How can you talk about health facility? How can you talk about improving the infrastructure of your country? We don't have electricity. Now, do we actually even have proper water, pipe-borne water, so that our kids will not be sick? We don't have those facilities. Why? With all the minerals we have, there is a cap you put. Before my husband became the president of Sierra Leone was benefiting, they said, what's the word? 0.000.1%. What is that? Basically, a company can take as much as $100 million out of the country in terms of minerals, and then they can just give the country $10,000. Now, what will $10,000 do for our health system? What does $10,000 do for our educational system? And these are the things I believe that are stopping Africa from progressing. We don't have a say. The sense about us celebrating independence, I don't know why we celebrate independence, because we are not free.
But things, they be a changing. The African Israelites about to take their resources back, their land back, and kick out the colonizers. Zechariah chapter 1, 4 carpenters handling business. The Russians are coming in to help put in their military and their resources. And I know some of y'all concerned about that, but if you know the prophecies, it's all working towards our good. Judgment is here. Darkness is here. But what does that portend for the Israelites? What does that portend for the descendants of slaves? What does that mean for us? What does it mean for them? Well, we can see that they're seeing devils and demons and angels and spirits. They're looking at the moon and the sun. They're looking at the eclipse, not knowing that it means judgment. They've been warned, but they don't know what they're seeing. But it portends our exodus. It portends our light. It shows Isaiah 60 is about to happen. It's my opinion. I can't give you a timeline, but the signs are there.
A group of the leaders of the global reparations movement met with the Vatican to discuss the Catholic Church's involvement with the transatlantic slave trade and ways in which the Church can make amends with the descendants of enslaved Africans. The group had detailed on the need for the Church to formally address its role with a papal reparations commission and financial retribution for the lineages of African ancestors who were victims of slavery in the past. The Global Circle for Reparations and Healing, GCRH, a delegation of reparations leaders arrived in Rome, led by Cam Howard, Director of Reparations United, and included Dr. Ron Daniels, convener of the National African American Reparations Commission, NARC, Dr. Amara Enya, strategist for the GCRH, and Nicole Hannah-Jones, author of The 1619 Project, A New Origin Story. They had met with Bishop Paul Teig, Secretary of the Pontifical Council of Culture, at the Vatican. The group delivered a presentment outlining the harms and offenses of the Church regarding the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. The presentment also referenced the legacy of those harms and offenses and reparations measures that are needed for full repair.
The effects of the transatlantic slave trade and the harms inflicted on our ancestors continue to cause systemic damage to this day.
Thus said Cam Howard, Director of Reparations United, who is co-convener of the GCRH.
The Catholic Church has admitted that it played a role in the transatlantic slave trade, and the purpose of our meeting was to provide a roadmap to allow us to move forward toward true reparatory justice. The focus now will be on continued conversations to move the work forward to ensure repair becomes a reality.
During the meeting, Bishop Tigges suggested that the moment is ripe for the presentment to be seriously considered by the Church under the guidance of Pope Francis. He cited Pope Francis's encyclical Fratelli Tutti as evidence of the pontiff's commitment to explore issues of justice, equality, and reconciliation. Bishop Tigges agreed to share the presentment to leaders within the Church and offered suggestions for initiating a process for moving forward with talks.
When talking about slavery, particularly the transatlantic slave trade and its after effects, there are certain institutions.
So, as we've said in shows of the past, there will be judgment. There's going to be deliverance. We're here. Judgment and then deliverance. You know, a lot of people act like Terrell Ministries never said anything years in advance, that we never taught about historical stuff. A lot of stuff we do is ignored. But the point being, at this point in time, you ignore us at your peril. You might have ignored us in the past, but you don't have no time left. If you ain't right with the Most High, if you don't have faith in the Messiah, you're going to reap with the rest of the world. If you're not obeying his commands, you're going to reap with the rest of the world. The eclipse was a warning that judgment is here. And people don't know how to interpret the signs. Judgment is here. And there's many that will perish. One grape out of a cluster will be saved. One plant out of a great forest will be saved. This is the sad truth. Well, Lord, who can be saved? With man, it's impossible. But with Yah, all things are possible. That's why I say you best make sure you're right before you judge other people and say they're false teachers or that they're lying or that Gentiles can't be saved. Because the scripture teaches otherwise. The scripture teaches that whosoever will, let him come. The Great Commission was to go to all nations, preaching the good news. There's deception, I told you before, at every level. When you awake, there's deception. When you think you're good and your doctrine's tight, there's deception laying wait. This walk is not easy. It's called a race for a reason. And you don't win the race until you complete the race. You don't know you're getting in until you win. We must through much tribulation enter the kingdom. We must through much illness and sickness enter the kingdom. We must through much death and destruction and racism enter the kingdom. We must through much lying and deceiving and manipulation into the kingdom. We have a lot of landmines we have to avoid. But we can do all things through the Messiah who is our strength. See, hold fast to him and you will make it. You let go of him and you will not make it. This is where we're at. While the rest of the world sitting under judgment, not even knowing it. So if you like what we do, you can support us by becoming a patron member. You can also support us by giving $TOTW7101. You can also go buy a mug or a t-shirt at givingforall.com. You can also, like this video, give us a like if you like it, and share this video. Some of y'all could go ahead and put some of these things on TikTok if you want. Clip it out, snip it out. And the ones who have, thanks. And also, support the Dry Bones Project because we're about to go home. I don't see nothing else. America's done. They know it's done. They admit that it's done. It's not just us saying it. They're saying it. And everything we have said is being confirmed. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah.